Silverstone for the final weekend in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Championship. And with me is Lyndsay. Lyndsay, we've missed you for the last couple of races. What's been happening?
Well, unfortunately, there's a new little Mazda baby coming to the paddock this year round, and it's my turn, apparently. But yes, no, me and my other half, Mike, who races in the championship, we've taken a little bit of a step back because, by all means, there's a little one growing here. It's going to be a new driver for next year, Lloyd.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That's what we like to see. Start them young. Start them young. Now, the big thing this weekend is going to be the championship battle between John Langridge and Will Blackwell-Chambers. What's going to happen there?
Well, by all means, I've been following this. It's nail-biting at this point. There is...
You're right here. Yeah. I'm literally bitten my nails.
It's, I think coming into this weekend, there is literally less than a handful of points between John and Will. And we all know Will's won it for the past 2 years. John's been right behind him, but John has got the edge. So can you do it? I'd like to think so, but by all means, I can't wait to just see them on track.
No, it's going to be great fun to see what happens out there. It's going to be some close racing. And as you say, it could go any way between Will or John. Let's see what happens over the next 3 races. It's over to our commentary team to take you through the first race action.
Thanks, guys. Well, 8 points is all that separate them in the championship, and here is where they line up. It's Langridge on pole, crucially, with Ali Bray alongside, and then Fraser Fenwick, who's on form this weekend. Blackwell-Chambers in 4th, Matt Pollard and Matt Luffer next, then Jason Greatrex and Adam Bessel, with Brian Trott making a welcome return, and Steve Foden alongside him on row 5. Will Hayden and Jack Brewer are next ahead of Joe Wiggin, all the way down in 13th on the grid, and Martin Tolley 14th. Then it's Charles Mugglestone with Dave Turton, Adam Sparrow and Sam Smith, whilst Ian Blake and Seb Fisher round out the top 20. It's a big grid, 34 cars set to take to the circuit for this first A race of the weekend, and a championship to be settled over the 3 races this weekend at Silverstone. Here we go then. This is going to be an incredibly tense final few races of the season, I'm sure. In the 2019 Mazda MX-5 Championship, the lights go out and then back on and then back out again, and we are away in racing at Silverstone, and it's a good start made by both the front row men, actually, and Ali Bray might have his nose in front. In fact, he has his whole car in front, and look at how keen John Langridge was to ensure that Will Blackwell-Chambers didn't go through. He could afford to lose the lead there to a non-championship rival, but he could not afford to allow Blackwell-Chambers ahead, and Langridge, so far so good, has kept his big rival behind him. Onto the brakes then into Village Corner. It's 3 and 4 and even 5 abreast further back. 1 or 2 are inevitably going to run wide, but let's hope they all avoid contact through the right-hander. On board with Charles Mugglestone then, who's got a sea of traffic in front of him, and no doubt a similar view in the rear view mirror. Out a few of the quick runners there further back. There's the red and white car of Mugglestone, who we were riding on board with. We are again now as he looks to the inside of Martin Tolley, heading down the hanger straight for the first time. But here comes the first attack from Will Blackwell-Chambers to try and get himself ahead of John Langridge. Goes to the inside down to Stowe Corner and does it. He goes through. So as things stand, he would take 2 points out of Langridge, or would he? Langridge might be able to fight back here. He's eased off the road, keeps his foot in the door though, and John Langridge gets the inside line back again into Vale. And again, Blackwell-Chambers cannot afford to let any other cars come through, because Blackwell-Chambers arrives here at Silverstone 8 points behind Langridge. So as a bare minimum, he has to beat Langridge in all 3 races. That is the least that he can afford to do this weekend. Ideally, needs a few cars to get between them though, and that's why Langridge and Blackwell-Chambers both being quite cagey about letting other drivers get into their private battle. So it's Bray that leads the way then, 2nd place for Langridge, 3rd Blackwell-Chambers, on board with Charles Mugglestone further down the order as he tries to attack Joe Wiggin. Now Joe Wiggin has won 8 races so far this season, and most of them, in fact all of them, have come in the last 3 meetings. He's won 8 of the last 9 races of the year. The only other man to have won a race is Ben Short, who's not here this weekend, and he won the middle race at Alton Park. So you would expect Joe Wiggin to be here at the front of the field, but he's not. He qualified 13th, not a million miles off the pace, but you don't have to be in this championship. All of a sudden you find yourself a long way down the grid, so Wiggin one to keep an eye on. Langridge though, attacking for the race lead, goes to the inside of the AB Motorsport car of Ali Bray, and Will Blackwell-Chambers has no choice but to go with him. And so for the lead, Langridge I think will go through. The key will be whether or not Blackwell-Chambers goes with him, and I'm not sure he will, because Bray is actually trying to do to Langridge what Langridge did to Blackwell-Chambers a lap ago. That's hang on around the outside at Stowe to get the inside for Vale. It won't work in as far as he won't be able to retain the lead. I thought for a moment he might have been able to hang on to 2nd place, but he could not, and look at everyone else going on the the inside. Oh, well, that was a brilliant move by Fraser Fenwick to go from 4th to 2nd, and it completely messed up Will Blackwell-Chambers, who briefly finds himself back down in 4th position. He dives back to the inside of Ali Bray through the second part of club, but that was not what the script was supposed to say for Will Blackwell-Chambers, who now suddenly finds himself with a car between himself and Langridge, but they're the wrong way round. He needs to be in front of Langridge to keep his championship hopes alive, and still he can't shake off Ali Bray, who goes back up the inside. Adam Bessel is going with him as well in the number 4 car. And Adam Bessel, the Anglesey winner, looking on good form again this weekend. Brian Trott's in there as well. Look, the white, orange, purple and green car going around the outside. Steve Foden's been rapid of late. He's there too. And Will Blackwell-Chambers is having to really get his elbows out here to fend them all off. And crucially, it's allowing Langridge to pull away in front of him. Out onto the back straight they go again, on board with Langridge, looking back at Fraser Fenwick, who has sort of come out of nowhere this weekend, but it's good to see him on the pace nonetheless. Yet to have a podium in this championship, Fraser Fenwick, and he's now running in 2nd position. And those two, maybe if they work together, could potentially get away from the chasing pack behind. This has worked out absolutely perfectly for John Langridge, who doesn't necessarily need to win the race, but if he can, then he will be able to take a big chunk of points out of that man there, car number 1, the double reigning champion, Will Blackwell-Chambers, who has at least been able to retain 3rd, but look at how many cars are queued up behind him. So many more cars then that could potentially take some points out of him, and you have to say that realistically, if not mathematically, but certainly realistically, if he finishes behind Blackwell-Chambers in this race, Will Blackwell-Chambers is almost certainly not going to become champion, so he needs to try and do something about the leaders in front of him. There's Matt Pollard going up the inside of Steve Foden. You can see Matt Pollard up there at the sharp end of an A grid. That's not something we've been able to see a huge amount of so far this year. It's up the inside of Blackwell-Chambers, looks Ali Bray. In fact, up the inside goes Ali Bray into 3rd position, and Bessel gets a run too. This is not what Blackwell-Chambers needs. He might be able to get this 3rd place back, but with every side-by-side exchange between these two, the leaders get further away, and in fact Bray does fend him off, and now round the outside goes number 72, Matt Luff. So Matt Luff about to take 4th place potentially away, and Blackwell-Chambers has been freight-lined here. He's been put to the inside line. Everyone else goes to the outside. He thankfully gets back in line, but now in 5th position. So Blackwell-Chambers, rather than going forward, is going backwards. His main saving grace here is that Langridge may not hang on to the lead for much longer, because Fraser Fenwick was up the inside into Stowe Corner. Blackwell-Chambers, though, is starting to get desperate now as he tried to get up the inside of Luff again for 4th. We've had the lead change, though, and John Langridge is urging Fraser Fenwick on here, saying, let's work together. Oh, Adam Bessel into the back of Matt Luff, right in front of Blackwell-Chambers, who picks his way back ahead of Bessel. Luff's on the curb, and Blackwell-Chambers has to get his elbows out now. He can't afford to fall any further back into this pack, and thankfully, for the first time this race really, he has a little bit of good fortune, and he's able to pick his way back ahead, but he's still only 4th, as Langridge, his big championship rival, goes for the race lead. So much for working with Fraser Fenwick. 2 corners later, he's up the inside and back ahead of him. So Langridge clearly feels that he's got the pace to pull away, or at least lead them away from the rest of the pack, but the pack are closing. 3rd place Ali Bray is actually quicker than the leaders at the moment, and he is bringing friends with him, one of whom is just about Will Blackwell-Chambers, who somehow has got himself back into that 4th position. Fenwick up the inside of Langridge, who does not need contact, and John Langridge gets elbowed out of the way by Fraser Fenwick, and he's down to 2nd place. But where is Ali Bray? Has Ali Bray got the run? He might be close enough to have a go here. He'll have a slipstream, I think, from the leading 2, and John Langridge's message to Fraser Fenwick about working together did not get through, and here is Ali Bray back up the inside in the next car behind. Remarkably is Will Blackwell-Chambers, who a half a lap ago or so I was almost writing off here, and now he's back with his title rival. Langridge is down to 3rd. Blackwell-Chambers goes to the outside, and the top 2 in the championship are almost side by side as they go through the right-hander at Stowe Corner. It is side by side for the race lead. This is phenomenal Mazda MX-5 racing, exactly what we've come to expect and indeed love from this championship. And the Silverstone circuit, be it this version, the international layout, or the shorter national circuit, guarantees this side-by-side, nose-to-tail slipstreaming action, and your fortunes can change so quickly, as they have for Blackwell-Chambers, who might amazingly be about to overtake John Langridge. I think he might be, because 3 into 2nd goes Ali Bray. Blackwell-Chambers is up the inside, and John Langridge has to let him go. Matt Luff's coming with him as well, and now all of a sudden it's Langridge that could be hemorrhaging points. He needs to try and get back into a rhythm, back into line first of all, which he might be able to do now, and indeed he does. He forces his way in front of Matt Luff, and we can all breathe for the first time in a good lap or so. That was fantastic stuff from Will Blackwell-Chambers. has somehow got himself back in front of Langridge. Only by 1 position though, so he's taking 2 points out of Langridge now. The gap would come down to 6 between the two of them if things finish as they are now. However, things are not guaranteed to finish as they are now. Langridge could lose more places, Blackwell Chambers could gain more places, or they could even reverse positions altogether, which may be what's about to happen. Langridge is closing on Blackwell Chambers, who will not allow him through. He goes down to the inside line and just about gets to the corner in front, and that's backing Langridge up now into the pack of cars behind. This is a risky strategy from Blackwell Chambers, but it's one that could work. If he can keep driving defensively, it's Langridge that's actually most likely to lose out. John Langridge has to go to the outside line, and look, it leaves the door open for Matt Luff up the inside. They almost lean on each other. Adam Bessel is there as well, and he'll get a run on both of them through Club Corner, and Blackwell Chambers needs to try and get a few cars between himself and Langridge. That's got to be the plan here, and this defensive driving that he's sort of being forced to do might actually end up playing into his hands anyway. Bessel and Luff then side by side for 5th position as they come across the start-finish line. The top two, Fenwick and Breyer, getting away now at the head of the field. It doesn't really matter too much to these two. It doesn't matter where they are in the order. It's still 2 points per position, essentially, is the gain here. So 3rd place worth 96, 4th place is worth 94. 2-point swing then in the favour of Will Blackwell Chambers. Brian Trott was a championship contender, we thought, earlier on this season, but then hasn't been around for the full year. As we left Brands Hatch, though, was actually one of our favourites to win the championship. So he wasn't able to commit to a full season. He's showing some good speed here, though, Brian Trott, having started down in 9th. He's almost with this podium battle, which once again starts to ignite. Their side-by-side Langridge pulls to the left-hand side this time. This is the outside line into Stowe Corner, gets half a car in front, and then there's a side draft from Will Blackwell Chambers, which just pulls Langridge back towards him. And so the number 1 car gets into Stowe Corner, still in that 3rd position. Langridge is wanting to get on with this though and gets back alongside him again, but now we're turning left into Vale, so he's on the outside line. Up in front though, side by side for the lead, and it looks as though Ali Bray will fend off Fraser Fenwick for the time being. Blackwell Chambers then stays in 3rd, and is Bessel going to have a go at Langridge? How do these other drivers deal with the 2 championship contenders, because they're just out there for the best result that they can possibly get. They don't really care too much about the championship fight going on around them, but at the same time, the last thing any one of them wants to do is to make contact with either Will or John and possibly end their championship aspirations. This is really, really tense stuff, as we predicted it would be, and it is not over yet. Langridge is about to have another go potentially at Blackwell Chambers, who is driving around the inside of the track, and look at what it's doing. It's just stacking them all up behind. If Langridge goes off wide at any point, he could lose not just 1 but maybe 5 or 6 positions, and that could be the difference between winning the championship and coming second to Will Blackwell Chambers. That's what Blackwell Chambers is hoping to happen. Langridge so far is dealing with the situation masterfully, sort of managing to fend everyone else off. He's playing those drivers off against each other. They're about to get 3 abreast, I think, behind him as they run down towards Stowe Corner on board with Langridge. Matt Luff's giving him a bump. There are cars to the left, cars to the right. Which way does he go? He drives right down the middle of the road, and that should hold on to 4th place. And here comes Joe Wiggin as well. Oh goody, thinks John Langridge, another driver that's probably got the pace to overtake me, except he runs a bit wide at Stowe Corner, does Joe Wiggin, in his excitement at finally being almost within touching distance of the front, and actually loses 2 places, one to Brian Trott and the other to Charles Mugglestone, who now goes up the inside of Trott over the curbs, and the 83 car will prevail, I think, and hang on to the spot for now. But Joe Wiggin, that purple, yellow and black car, is starting to creep towards the front now. See that he's not a million miles off the pace this weekend. It's just everyone is so close together that you only have to drop half a second, and you could be outside the top half, the top dozen on the grid, as indeed he was after qualifying earlier on today. Back towards the front of this queue then, Langridge in 4th, we're on board with Matt Luff behind us is 5th, and not really concerned about taking points away from Langridge. If he sees a chance to go through, he'll take it with no second invitation required. So Langridge with Luff now the man applying the pressure, but he's the only one applying the pressure now, because there's been a bit of a sorting out there, I think, between the cars behind, and that's maybe just relieved the pressure, from that John Langridge was feeling up until that point. On board meanwhile with Adrian Burge now, who's trying to stay out of the relegation zone. Don't forget, we've, as ever, got the relegation and promotion spots up for grabs here. The bottom 5 finishers in this race will be demoted onto the B grid for race 2 tomorrow morning. We've had no retirements yet either. If we do, then they will be relegated, but we might do now because Mugglestone and Will Hayden tangle. I think Hayden got shoved into the side of the 96 car. I didn't see who it was that made contact with him, but they both run out wide, and a half spin there for Mugglestone, and that's a shame because they were both actually having one of their stronger performances of the season, right in the fight for a top 10, but in the end they will survive, but with slightly damaged cars and lots of positions lost. That's benefited Joe Wiggin though. He picked his way through that quite nicely, and Joe is now into 8th position. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yeah, 8th position now for Joe Wiggin, so he's into the top 10 at least. This is the battle for the lead, or that was the battle for the lead, very briefly. Ali Bray just ahead of Fraser Fenwick. We're on board with Langridge then, who, as things stand, would lead the championship by 6 points with 2 more races to go. Is he going to be happy with that? Will he be happy to stay in 4th position? Maybe on the last lap he might have a go, but you can't see John Langridge taking a huge risk here. I know he doesn't want to lose any points to Blackwell Chambers, but at least he was the driver that arrived here with the cushion. He was the one that had the championship lead, so he can afford to actually finish 1 position behind Blackwell Chambers in all 3 races, as long as it's only 1 position. As soon as there's a car between them, Langridge really will have to start trying to dig deep to redress the situation. Fraser Fenwick, meanwhile, gets himself into the lead of the race. Fraser Fenwick, I think I'm right in saying, has never won a race in the MX-5 Championship, certainly not an A race. And here he is leading now, about 2/3 of the way through this fantastic first race of the weekend. But because they've been battling now, these two, it's actually allowing Blackwell Chambers and Langridge to catch them. Now, Blackwell Chambers will have eyes only for a race victory here. He's got to go all out for the win. Yes, he's outscoring Langridge at the moment, but the more positions he gains that Langridge doesn't gain with him, the more points he takes out of him. So Blackwell Chambers' target now is to overtake Ali Bray and Fraser Fenwick without allowing John Langridge to follow him straight through, because if they finish 1st and 2nd, then he still only takes 2 points out of Langridge. He needs to try and have Langridge a bit further down the order than that. The top 4 are together now, and you'd imagine before too much longer Matt Luff will join them. So we could have 5 for the lead very shortly. Pressure's building, isn't it? This is fantastic stuff, and this is only race 1 of the weekend, but it sets the tone for the rest of the weekend, because the grid for race 2 is based upon the result of this race, and the same again then for race 3, based on the race 2 results. So a good result in this first race sets you up nicely for race number 2. Blackwell Chambers is at the moment doing the bare minimum required of him, which is to beat John Langridge, or is he? Because Langridge dives to the inside and actually might be able to go back into 3rd position. He's got most of his car in front. He runs out to the edge of the road. Can Blackwell Chambers hang tough? He's all the way off the road, but keeps on coming. That was interesting. I don't know whether that might be deemed as gaining an advantage by exceeding track limits, but they're starting to make contact with each other now, and John Langridge didn't really need to go for that move, but fair play to him. He's not backing down, and it works. He moves into 3rd place, back ahead of Blackwell Chambers then. That was an interesting tactic because he wasn't really under any pressure from Matt Luff behind. He was safe in the knowledge that he wasn't going to lose too many points to his big rival, and so decided still, though, that he wanted to attack, which was an interesting strategy, but one that seems to have worked so far. Fraser Fenwick, by the way, the race leader at the moment, has the fastest laps, and that's worth 2 bonus points that are not going the way of either of our championship contenders at the moment. So John Langridge and Will Blackwell Chambers are scoring at the moment, provisionally at least, 96 and 94 points respectively. So if you can get the fastest lap, it's worth 2 bonus points. So if Blackwell Chambers, for example, got the 2 bonus points, he would actually finish behind Langridge and still score the same amount of points as him. There's a bit of breathing room now ahead of Langridge up to the top 2, so can John now use that relatively clean air to set a quick lap time? Whatever he does though, you'd imagine Blackwell Chambers won't be much slower, and Will has a little look to the inside. Langridge goes to the inside as well, partly to defend his 3rd place, also to have a little sniff up the inside of the 2nd place man Ali Bray. Luff is with them now as well, so it is a quintet of cars fighting for the lead of the race. 3 drivers who have not won this year and 2 who very much have, and they're the 2 fighting for the championship, and Langridge goes up the inside of Ali Bray for 2nd place. I don't think he meant to do that. I think he was defending his 3rd position and outbraked himself, and Blackwell Chambers goes up the inside of both of them into the 2nd part of club. There's a big squeeze. Langridge is off onto the runoff area, and Matt Luff gets a run on all 3 of them and could pick 3 places up in one. He's ahead of Blackwell Chambers, he's ahead of Ali Bray, he's up the inside of John Langridge for 2nd place as well. It's all kicked off. It's allowed Fraser Fenwick to pull away into a lead that he may not lose now to the checkered flag. But what will happen behind? Well, Langridge is still ahead of Blackwell Chambers somehow. But I'm convinced that he was so busy watching his mirrors there that he outbraked himself and was sort of forced to have a go at getting past Ali Bray, who's now trying to retaliate and pulls himself alongside Will Blackwell Chambers as he split the two of them. He has, and so now the championship situation changes once again, with Langridge potentially set to outscore Blackwell Chambers, but as we know, this can all change almost corner by corner. Look at this that's going on further back as well. This may not be for the championship, but it's equally as entertaining. David Waters there, the 666 car, the first of the two blue cars, has Dave Turton behind him, and then the recovering Will Hayden. You can see the damage to the door of his car after that contact earlier on, and now Langridge is losing positions. Ali Bray, no, that's Matt Love, I think, into second place, isn't it, who was fifth a lap ago. He's into P2 now. Look at the lead that Fraser Fenwick's pulled out over this group, and it's all about the championship battle and other drivers getting themselves involved, as they're perfectly entitled to do. Ali Bray, Matt Love, Fraser Fenwick, they're doing nothing wrong here. They're out to end their season on a high, and they really don't care what's going on in the championship battle. As long as they keep it clean, all is fair in that, but it's certainly not making life easy for John Langridge and Will Blackwell Chambers. So far, though, it's advantage Langridge. He is third. Blackwell Chambers is in fifth position, but that might be about to change because Ali Bray goes a bit wide through Abbey. Can Blackwell Chambers pull himself alongside? He's looking. That would give him the inside line for Village. Does Bray leave the door open? He might do. No, Blackwell Chambers goes to the outside line instead. As an addition to all of this, by the way, John Langridge nicked that fastest lap away a couple of laps ago, so he's now got the bonus two championship points for the fastest lap, which actually, depending on exactly where they end up in this race, could be all the difference. Except it's changing again. That's already out of date because now the inside goes Matt Love. No, Ali Bray, sorry, he's going to go past Matt Love after he's gone past John Langridge, but John Langridge somehow gets back to the inside line. He manages to fill the gap between that man there, Will Blackwell Chambers, and that man there, Ali Bray, in front of him. But he, in the end, I don't think will gain a position out of it. Bray might be able to go second, but Matt Love will not give it to him. And they run side by side with Blackwell Chambers trying to go around the outside of John Langridge again through Stoke Corner. Langridge runs to the edge of the road, but there is Blackwell Chambers back up the inside line again down to Vale Corner. We're into the closing stages of this race now. This is the fight for second place and for the championship lead. They're leaning on each other again, Langridge and Blackwell Chambers. And Joe Wiggin is arriving on the scene, and Adam Bessel and Matt Pollard as well. And they're both going to lose out to Joe Wiggin, and Adam Bessel's up the inside too. Three abreast once again, the top two in the championship in such a precarious position. Matt Pollard thinks, this looks fun, let's make it four wide going on to the final lap of the race. He backs out of it, Bessel backs out of it, and Langridge keeps Blackwell Chambers behind him. They're both losing places, but critically Langridge is keeping Blackwell Chambers at bay, and that means that right now he would outscore his championship rival by 4 points, 2 finishing ahead of him and a bonus 2 points for the fastest lap. Blackwell Chambers, though, onto the final lap of the race, is trying to do something about it. There's contact between the two of them, and Adam Bessel gets up the inside now. That did not work out well for Will Blackwell Chambers. He went for a move, it did not work, and he has ended up coming off worse by losing the place to Adam Bessel. Down the hanger straight they go, half a lap to go now in this. It's only race one. I don't think my heart can take 3 races of this. The championship will go on to the second race regardless what order they finish in this race, but Langridge at the moment would go into that penultimate round of the year with a pretty handy points lead. For the podium places, it's still all to play for between Matt Luff and Ali Bray, with Matt Luff trying to fend him off. Joe Wiggins come from 13th on the grid to 4th, but this man, Fraser Fenwick, is going to come through to take what I believe is his first ever Mazda MX-5 Championship A-race victory. He comes through Club Corner, and in a sensational race, definitely the race of the season, he will take the checkered flag by over 5 seconds in the end. What order are they in behind, though? It will be Luff, Bray and Wiggin for second, third and fourth, and Blackwell Chambers bullies his way back up the inside of Adam Bessel. That was critical. He gets into 6th position, but Langridge is ahead of him. He maintains the fastest lap as well. 4 points taken out of Blackwell Chambers by John Langridge, who comes home in 5th position. Steve Foden's behind the pair of them in 7th, Brian Trott 8th, because Adam Bessel was given a track limits penalty. Sam Smith Matt Pollard was 10th, Sam Smith was 11th, and Seb Fisher 12th, and Jason Greytrex, Jack Brewer and Adam Sparrow to round out the top 15. What a race that was. Well done to Fraser Fenwick for the victory, but it's very much advantage Langridge in the championship.
Fraser, congratulations on your win. Must be massive taking a win here at Silverstone in the MX-5 Championship, although you need to be a little bit careful about what you do with trophies.
Yeah, the trophy didn't go too well. It didn't go too good for that, but it went amazing for me. You know, third meeting, sorry, and just to come out and win. You know, I've never been happier in my life. You know, I stood on the podium shaking. That's why it fell out of my hand. But you know, I'm more happy for Ali than I am for myself. You know, to have 3 of his drivers on the steps, it's just amazing for him and for me.